Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Royce. Thank you for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Andrew Fillipponi in a matter of moments, so give us a call on the Borders and Borders hotline at 412-575-2600. I want to talk about the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, because I know Pony loves to talk about Kenny Pickett on the show, but I do want to start with something different here tonight and the Pitt basketball program right now. That might have been the worst pick you ever made, Pony, but I don't want to get on you about that. I want to actually get serious here and the state of this program. I mean, how long do you go before you maybe make a change? They lost to VCU. They got pounded by Michigan. They can't hold on to a lead. What is going on over there at Pitt?
Well, the Jeff Capel experiment has not worked. And every time it seems like he gets good players that are going to get the program back on track, something happens. Whether those guys just get disgruntled and leave, they don't stay here the entire time. They get in trouble off the court. It's not been as abysmal or as bad as the Kevin Stallings era, but it hasn't been much better. And so the buyout before this season was $15 million. At the end of the year, it's $5 million. He just feels like a lame duck coach to me, even though he's technically under contract through 2027. So I think this team needs to turn it around quick. I think if they don't, then they'll be making a change this offseason. They look good in their first game, Richie. They blew out that UT Martin team without John Hughley. Hughley's back, and they're losing to teams. Michigan's a very good team. VCU is not. It's an average team that was out its best player. So about as close to as bad of a start as you could have expected. Losing to UT Martin and being winless right now would be the worst case scenario, which, given Pitt's struggles in previous Novembers, probably wasn't out of the question.
I mean, his best year so far, Pony, was his first year, I think. I mean,
yep.
I had a chance to talk to Jeff Capel. Was at one of the Steelers games, and I was talking to him on the sidelines for a while, and he was pretty optimistic about the season, thinking that this could have been the season where he can turn things around a little bit, but it just doesn't look promising right now. It seems like they just can't, like the teams back in the early 2000s, those Pitt teams, they were grinders. If it was a close game, you knew it was going to be close and they were going to come back and find a way to win. Well, I feel like now if games are close, they're eventually going to get blown out at some point in the second half.
Yeah, I don't think this program really has a culture whatsoever. They haven't had players who have stuck around long enough and established themselves well enough to really do that for Jeff Capel. Duke so much is about the Duke brand and being able to attract these blue chip players who go on to play in the NBA. And the allure was Coach Krzyzewski. Jeff Capel was going to try to bring some of that to Pitt. It worked a little bit at Oklahoma when he was there with somebody like Blake Griffin, who he made into the #1 overall pick in the draft, and they went all the way to the Elite Eight. But outside of that season, a lot of mediocrity and actually a lot of turmoil off the court at Oklahoma. So this is not a good situation at all. The extension that Pitt gave Jeff Capel very early on was a huge blunder, because without that extension, Richie, I think Pitt would have a different coach right now. I think they would have gotten rid of him after last year. The good thing about college basketball is that with the transfer portal, you can turn your program around in 1 year. Iowa State did that, where they went from the worst team in the Big 12 to the Sweet 16 last year. So it can happen. Easier now than it was even years ago. I thought Jeff Capel was going to be that guy at Pitt, but no, he's not. They're going to move on from him at the end of the season.
Yeah, I was told from someone inside of Pitt, one of my sources over there, and I know you have a bunch of sources, that they weren't going to do anything during the season, but potentially something could happen after the season. So just depending on what happens this season, I guess it is. But, my last question before we go to break and take phone calls and then maybe switch subjects to the Steelers, can Pitt, the $1 million question is, can they turn things around? They've had 4 miserable seasons with Capel, 2 with Kevin Stallings. So, I mean, it's been a downward spiral with this team. Are they in a position to be the Pitt's the basketball team that we saw, say 2007 at some point? Can they get back to that?
I actually think they can. And I feel that way because the ACC is not the conference that it was when Pitt joined the league, when it looked like it was the best conference in college basketball. You've had Coach K retire. You've had Roy Williams retire. Now, Hubert Davis replaced him and took them all the way to the national championship game last year. Louisville is in tatters. They're winless right now. Leonard Hamilton at Florida State, they were good for a while. They're winless right now. My alma mater, Syracuse, Jim Boeheim, he needs to be shown the door. Great coach, Hall of Fame coach, but he's hung on for too long. They lost to Colgate the other night. It's not a great league right now. And that actually gives somebody an opportunity to step in and turn things around quickly. It's happened at Virginia Tech. They lost Buzz Williams to Texas A&M. Mike Young came in from Wofford. They made the tournament last year. So it's a lot easier now in the ACC than I would have said a few years ago. A lot of the great coaches in the premier programs in that league are down right now.
Are they in a position to attract a good coach? And my second question, this is a two-part question. My second part of this question is, does the transfer portal hurt a school like Pitt, or actually, you talked about Iowa State, or actually help them?
That can cut both ways. Yeah, I mean, it could hurt them for sure. Somebody comes here, looks at it as a stepping stone, then they go to a huge mega power school. But it also gives you a chance to find guys, say like in the A10, like where Duquesne plays, or even below that, into leagues like where Robert Morris plays in the Horizon League. I mean, you find players everywhere now, and it's easier to get them on your team when they don't have to sit out with the transfer rules. So yeah. Look, Ben Howland came from Northern Arizona, brought Jamie Dixon with him. He had no history at Pitt. He had no connection to Pittsburgh. So there are good coaches out there. You just got to find the right one. Both of these last two coaches have been retreads. Kevin Stallings came from Vanderbilt. Jeff Capel had been fired at Oklahoma. Maybe it's time, Richie, to go find a successful mid-major coach like they did with Ben Howland. Give the guy a promotion. Give him a bigger job and see if he can win at Pitt.
Yep, I agree with you there. 412-575-2600 is the number on the Bordas & Bordas hotline. We're switching gears to Steelers coming up next, so stay right there.